episode 296 of Global from Asia. We're talking about running surveys and polls for your business. And if you can stick with it till the end, you'll hear our own poll that might even be interesting to you.
Welcome to the Global from Asia podcast, where the daunting process of running an international business is broken down into straight up actionable advice. And now, your host, Michael Michelini.
How is everybody doing? I hope you're having an amazing Tuesday. I am still in Manila. Well, I know some of you were laughing at my bus intro. So I'm in my home office, working more at home, doing this content creation. As always, content machine. We have an amazing team. But in a couple of days after the show goes online, I will be down in Bohol. Bohol. They say you got to end with a H in Tagalog. So sorry if I don't pronounce the city or resort or amazing island well. It's a retreat I've been planning for many months with our management team here at Global from Asia, or technically our parent company, Shadstone. And I will be meeting some of them for the first time in person. Since I'm here in the Philippines, I thought I would meet the team that makes all this amazing content for you guys. And we're having a huge full day of talk. And of course, we're going to do a little bit of boat island hopping and dolphin seeing. And I'll make video blogs. As for those that like mikesblog.com, can check out the video blogs. But, and we'll try to get them, they're so shy, try to get them on a little bit of video or podcasts, okay? Hope you're listening. Well, they are listening. They're making this show happen. We have a great team. And if you guys like what you're listening to, you got to thank them. I'm just a dude with a somewhat working microphone. I've broken 2 microphones. All right, this is the 3rd one. Luckily, I had 3. But anyway, this week's show is an interesting one. It's some pretty cool one. I have some insights at the end after in our blah 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 session, we call it. At the end after the interview, I'll talk about a poll we ran here at Global from Asia that might shock some of you, and there might be some changes from it. I think maybe I should have done the poll a long time ago. We have Justin, one of the co-founders of PickFu, and he gives us some amazing insights about how to run surveys and get some data for your Amazon listing or your in business or your book or anything, really. There's no excuse in today's technology age of why you shouldn't be getting some insights from your market or the market in general. No more excuses. And he gives some great insights. And then after our interview, I'll share. Also, of course, we have a coupon code GFA, just the 3 letters. If you go into pickfu.com and buy a first survey, you'll get 50% off your first one. And I think we get a little bit of pocket change for some coffee. I don't drink beer, so it'll be a coffee. If you want to use this service and want to give us a little thank you tip, you can use that coupon code for yourself and for us. All right, without further ado, let's get into the interview. We are getting slammed with people that want to speak and attend and have some little booth area at our 5th annual Cross-Border Summit 2020. And we're moving out of China. Even before the virus, it was a trade war that broke us. And also, I'm home in Manila now. My wife's in China now. But we plan to be back in Thailand this summer. We're working on it since already last November. The venue's locked in. We got amazing speakers, amazing things, amazing people want to come. Yeah, I know, it's a little bit crazy. We're moving out of China 4 years in mostly Shenzhen, 3 times Shenzhen, 1 time Guangzhou. But this time it's going to be in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Take a little resorts after the trade show season in October. You know, a lot of those, it seems like the spring show is totally just blown up, so there seems like not much happening. Everybody's gonna be coming down for the fall, so stick around after. If you go up to Hong Kong and Shenzhen and China for your trade shows in October, we're doing it in November. Okay, there's also amazing other events happening. We'd love to see you there. crossbordersummit.com/Thailand. It's gonna be epic. All right, thank you everybody tuning to another Global from Asia podcast. We got a fun one. This is an important topic. I think everybody should, validate as much as they can before they jump in. And I put a little joke in the title, the Tinder of e-commerce, Amazon with images. And we're really lucky and fortunate to connect with Justin Chen, the co-founder of PickFu. Thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mike. Love to talk about testing, why all the sellers should be testing in all their decisions.
Totally. I guess maybe first, just a little bit of your background and your story, how this all came to be for you and PickFu.
Yeah, sure. So my partner John and I, we actually started PickFu almost 10 years ago now, as a side project, actually. So we're both engineers and we were building a completely different business at the time. And we needed feedback. So we needed to make a decision on a redesign, I think it was. And so, being engineers, we decided to build the solution to get feedback on it. And so that's where PickFu initially started. And we threw it up and it worked for us. We were able to get the feedback that we needed. And we kind of left it there for a while as we continued to build our other business. Probably about 5 years ago, it started picking up steam, and we decided to focus all of our attention over to PickFu. And
Great.
it really started taking hold in the startup community as the lean startup movement kind of came
Yeah,
about, and idea validation and gathering data, talking to your customers. Like these are all important concepts now, and kind of gimmies, right? Like everyone knows that they need to understand their customer better. So that's where it started taking off a little bit more with startup weekends and all that kind of stuff.
cool.
Yeah, and so it's a very general purpose tool that you can get feedback on almost anything. And so when we first started, it was ideas and logos and kind of just general business things. We had a lot of authors using it to test book titles and book covers. So kind of like anything that you're going to publish that you can't take back, right? You can't test it live once you've published a book or a mobile app. Even like if you publish a mobile app to the app store, you want to make sure the app icon is impactful and
Mm,
looks good. Your app store screenshots, or your in-game creatives, like all the characters that you're developing, all this kind of stuff. So we have a lot of big game companies that also use it to test all of their all their creatives for their games. And
sounds cool.
so those were kind of the industries that we were playing in for a while. And e-commerce was actually a newer one that we discovered about 2 years ago, when some influencers were talking about testing using PickFu, testing their main images, and that's how we kind of fell into this space and discovered it's a great use case for PickFu, and we've been evangelizing testing to the seller community ever since.
Okay, great, great, great. Actually, I had a fun fact. I was a facilitator of startup weekend in China from like 2000.
Oh, nice.
I was one of the first, or maybe the first startup weekend in Shenzhen, and helped bring it to many different cities in China, which was awesome. And co-working spaces and all that stuff. But I
Yeah,
kind of evolved into e-commerce more. I mean, I was also doing e-commerce since 2004 or five with eBay and stuff like that,
yeah.
but kind of got sucked, like swept into that whole wave of startups and lean startups. And
Yep.
yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Incubators and all that. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, back then the co-working space, it wasn't a WeWork yet. It was like kind of
yeah, I liked the old
grassroots
school.
community
Yeah, that
co-working
was the stuff I
spaces.
liked, man. I liked
Yeah,
it.
it was a different time, and it was awesome because we would give out free polls to startup weekends. It's just so that
Yeah, yeah.
they can validate, and we still do that to this day. If the startup weekends or those kinds of like hackathons reach out to us, we're always happy to sponsor them. It's a great use case. They can validate their ideas very quickly, save time on you know developing the concept.
Okay, great, great. So let's get into some of the meat of the episode. Of course, I guess we're focusing on e-commerce today, and of course, like
Yeah,
you said,
sure.
there's so many different uses of testing, but we'll focus on that space. And I don't think it's even a joke, but I have joked it's like swiping images on Amazon. I mean, I think the images. What would you say? It's like the most important part, or one of the most important parts of
I mean, it's such a visual shopping is such a visual medium, and especially when you're doing it online versus in person, the image just replaces the physical item, right? So it has to be eye catching. It has to convey as much information as possible, really, right? Like it. Not only do you have to show what the item is, but a lot of times people want to see maybe what's included in the packaging or how it's going to be used and all these things. And different products will benefit from different kinds of main images depending on those needs, right? So we have the benefit of seeing a lot of different interesting products come through as sellers are testing things and seeing some of the trends that are emerging. But definitely, yeah, the importance of the main image, it can make a huge difference in the click-through rate and eventually your sales. And
yeah.
so, yeah.
And then the second part, I think, which we're prepared for this interview, and I'm glad you gave me a suggestion, but it's not just the image, but it's actually the product itself, right? You can
Sure.
test.
Yeah, exactly. So just stepping back a little bit, I don't think I gave too much about PickFu, but yeah, so basically PickFu is like a digital focus group that gives sellers crowdsourced feedback on kind of anything. In the context of sellers, it's product concepts, color variations, and product images, which is what we're talking about, images. But yeah, it can be anything. So it could be text, it could be images or video. So we find that the savvier sellers who want to make a bigger impact on their business start their testing in the beginning of the product lifecycle. So they're testing the product concepts, maybe their 3D renderings, or just like mock-up designs that they're working with their manufacturer or product designer. And you could be testing things like, oh, do people like the handle here? Do they like the handle here? Or any of those kinds of things. Before you even prototype it, right? So
Yep.
you're saving these steps of like getting a prototype and then getting feedback from your friends and family. You're getting this 3D rendering or mock-up, and you're getting feedback from your target audience online, and they're giving you written feedback why they chose a certain design. And maybe you're just sourcing, and so you could be, maybe you're choosing a few different things off Alibaba, and you want to see like which bento box design do people like. Sure, you could throw them all up on PickFu, and you're already getting feedback like, oh, people don't like the 3, they want the 4 container one or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then once you made that decision, color variations, right? How do you know what to stock? Should it be blue, red, black, or whatever? Put that up on PickFu, you at least get a first guess of like what that breakdown of your inventory supply should look like, so you're not left with all even numbers, ordering a little the same of everything and then not selling a bunch of it.
Yep. It's totally. Well, I mean, especially with Amazon FBA, where you got to kind of put money down first. It's not like
Yeah.
not really drop ship the
Yeah,
model.
exactly. Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's totally where it's even more important. So then mm, so what to test or what to measure? What is some, I'm sure you see all a lot of the insights from people using it. So of course maybe you're on the Alibaba, the sourcing stage, so you can even see if this product would be valid or compare two different kinds of the product.
Yeah. 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 So you could be choosing between different products that you're considering, or maybe you're comparing them to the category leader, right? And you want to bring in a product that's going to be competitive in the segment or the keyword that you're targeting. So you could start off by doing something like that. You could just take the images of maybe the category leader and maybe the product that you're considering on Alibaba, see what people think, see what the feedback is. And the thing is, we give both a quantitative and a qualitative feedback. So there's votes, right? So we get 50 people, by default it's 50 people voting on, oh, I like option A or I like option B. But they also have to give written feedback as to why. And that's usually where people find the most insight with the PickFu poll, is actually reading through all the feedback and seeing, oh, okay, they're saying that they don't like the one I'm choosing because, of this weird design variation or this color or something. Easy to change, right? Like now I know why. If you were to do this kind of like testing live on a website, like you see the numbers, but you don't know why, right? Like no one's explaining why they abandoned the cart or why they chose your competitor over your product.
Makes sense. Of course, you probably have a bias. More tests, obviously more profitable for you.
Sure.
But I mean, I guess what's the amount of tests somebody should even consider? From say the idea stage or the new product stage, like what's like a kind of a flow? I'm sure you test if it worked, which kind of variation or handle or shape or quantity, and then you go into color.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a normal flow of amount of tests that you would run?
I don't know if there's a normal number for sure, because every seller kind of has a different threshold for the amount of data that they want. And we have a lot of large sellers that are very data driven, and they're testing like very minute detail changes. And I definitely wouldn't recommend that most sellers do that, just because, the testing costs will be like a large part of their budget then. But, the I guess the larger scale that you're selling or you're buying at, like these things matter, right? So, I would say that for most people, it's a couple tests at the product concept stage, maybe a couple tests validating against the competitors. When they finally get the product and they're getting photography from their pictures from their photographer, then they're doing another few variations, just seeing which styles work best. So yeah, I mean, it's probably just a handful of tests here and there because they want to be able to test all across all their SKUs, right? And most people, in most cases, they've got more than one product, and so
Yeah.
it might just be a few here and there for one product, but then they're doing it for every single product.
Okay. So, of course, a lot of people always spend time at the beginning, like launching or finding a new product, but
Yeah,
you got to always sharpen the saw. I think that's from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People book, or I stuck in my head. But you can't just set it and forget it, right? You should still be testing,
yeah,
even after it's selling. Like you said, experienced sellers are doing
yeah,
tests, right?
yeah. I think so because um, you need to. Well, obviously, after you test it and you implement it, you want to measure to make sure that the sales are going as expected. But personally, I would revisit it every 6 to 12 months, just because the competitive landscape changes, the products that you're competing against change, and you want to make sure that your image is still relevant to the buyer preference and the buyer behavior.
Yep.
And so maybe people wanted to see all the composition of all the elements 6 months ago, but maybe now the leading competitor like doesn't do that anymore, and they've got a new layout of their product that is more effective, and maybe you need to tweak it to be more similar. So I definitely recommend revisiting it every now and then because these things change so quickly, especially when you're selling on Amazon and people come out of nowhere. You got to make sure that your image is staying competitive in that landscape.
One idea just popped in my head out of nowhere, but you mentioned competitor. I'm wondering if you could test your competitor stuff versus your stuff. I
Yeah,
guess
yeah,
that's possible. I don't know if this is something people do or.
yeah. We see that all the time. Actually, they will test different aspects. They'll start with maybe just the image. Some people will just put the two different URLs of the two different Amazon
Mm,
listing URLs and say like, take a look at these two and which one would you buy and why, and just read through, take a look at the images, take a look at the
yeah,
description, all that kind of stuff, and just explain, right? Like what is it about this one, why is it the bestseller, right?
yeah,
You could also take a screenshot. What some people do, some of the savvier ones, is they'll take a screenshot, they'll kind of normalize the data by maybe taking out the stars, taking out like all the labels like
yeah, yeah,
Amazon choice and all that kind of stuff. um,
yeah,
then you're looking at the title, the description, and the image, and now they're asking like, okay, now which one would you choose, right? Like maybe don't look at the price, but just at the offering, and that'll give you a good sense of what you need to change. Maybe what information are you missing? All those things. You could even start by doing a open-ended test against your competitor without even having anything. So one of our
mm,
poll types is say you don't have two things you want to compare against, you can just do an open-ended poll. So you can just do a single image and say, just give me feedback on this, like just give me written feedback. And so what a lot of people do is they'll just say, here's my listing, or here's like my product. Like, what questions do you still have about it? Like, what are your concerns? What don't you like? And it's just an open sounding board of like really unbiased feedback on the product. And maybe it's your product and maybe it's your competitor's product.
yeah, yeah. It doesn't even
Yeah. So
matter.
you could be learning like, oh, okay, interesting. Like, I mean, you can probably read some of this in the reviews, but like, this is also like you're privately collecting your own feedback on their product and their listing. And like, oh, people keep pointing out that they don't like this aspect of it. Maybe that's an angle I can come in at.
Makes sense, man. This is really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the open feedback, like, I, I actually once Perry Marshall. I don't know if you ever he
Yeah.
does.
Uh-huh.
He did I read one of his PPC books way back in the day, like '04, and he says like do PPC to a survey page,
Yep.
but fake it on the ad. So see if they even click on your ad, and then if they
Hmm.
really want it, make them fill out a survey. But
Yep.
of course, the best survey feedback is just that open-ended text at the bottom.
Yep.
And if they write a lot, that means they're really passionate about it and they really
Hmm.
want it, or they really need it, or they really want something better than what's out on the marketplace, right?
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that open-ended feedback is probably definitely most, because reading this whole quantitative, I like this one or that one, this one's
Yeah.
better. It's hard to really know why, but yeah, I agree. Like reading the why and like leaving
Yeah.
um, open-ended questions. Is there any tips or tricks on how to get as much feedback from these people as possible, like when they're doing it? Or, I mean, is there any hacks or tips on your system, like really get as much juice out of it as possible?
Well, there's like some best practices, I would say. I would say for sure don't test too many variables at once.
Mm,
So if you're testing two, uh, in the case of like say a book, this is an easy example. Like if you put up two different covers and they both have different titles, it's like, well, okay, like let's hold that some things constant, right? So like let's test the titles separately. Then once you've locked down the titles, let's generate some covers, put the same titles on the covers, right?
makes sense.
You would think you would want to like save some money and be like, oh, I'm just gonna go like this, but like you're not gonna know why a certain thing won. Like you need to isolate the variables. So I think to get a high fidelity signal, you definitely want to minimize the number of variables that are being changed. But at the same time, like too minute of a change is not going to be that interesting. A lot of times becomes frustrating, right? Like someone might just tweak like this tiny pixel and be like, which one do you like? And
Mm-hmm,
people are like, I don't understand. They look exactly the same. Like, well, all right, that's not too helpful either. So, you got to use your judgment a little bit there. I would definitely start with like broader concept differences and then uh, hone in on like smaller changes after that.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
The
can understand some of these, hustler, these startup entrepreneur that got, limited budget. They try to jam
yeah.
everything into one test, which
Sure, I can understand that too.
but they're not realizing they're not even really get anything out of it, because you're not going to really know, right, what is going to be conflicting feedback, right? Like
For
if it's
sure. Yeah, it's just kind of a jumble of responses responding to different things that have changed. And even if you're testing images, like you want to try to you know keep things stylistically the same, right? Like if you're testing layouts, like, well, don't mess with the backgrounds, maybe, right?
yeah,
Let's just test the layouts and hold a white background or something like that. You can play with backgrounds after you've determined the layout is what you want. So it does take a kind of a scientific minded approach
hmm,
to testing it, and that's how you're going to get the best results. And that's how a lot of our customers that are just very data driven, they have that like this very meticulous approach to um, slowly changing things, measuring it, and then adjusting.
yeah, it makes sense. But back to those startup hustlers, or the entrepreneur, using a dollar, selling on the back of their truck or something. Like, what is the most impactful? What's the 80/20, I guess? And of course, you said like some advanced sellers with huge budgets are doing this minute stuff. I mean, I guess it's image, or it would be title, or is there any kind of like best things or most impactful things that you think people could test in the Amazon or
Yeah, I mean, I
e-commerce?
think the easiest thing for people to test is typically the image, just because that's the lowest hanging fruit. It's the easiest thing to change. It's probably easier to generate another product, the product photo than anything else. You could test product description as well, but I think you'll get more bang for your buck out of the image just because that's what people are looking at
Yeah.
in the search results. So that's kind of where we suggest people start. The other thing that we do suggest as well is like if you don't have variations, is you can do this open-ended listing feedback that I was talking about before, and you can just pop in your listing URL and have the question say, take a look at this listing. What questions do you have? What things would you
Yeah.
improve? And that will give you essentially a laundry list of things to look at, right? Because, 5 or 10 people might talk about the photos, 5 or 10 people might say the copy's confusing or whatever. But now you have some spots that you can look at, or maybe do some variations, run some other PickFu polls to test it out. But you
Okay.
at least know some of the hesitations that people have.
Okay, this has been really, I think, really helpful for listeners. Thanks for giving us these insights. Um, I think we're kind of hitting a lot of the points that I've gone through. I mean, what are I don't know if you want to share any stories of users, maybe in your maybe people. We mentioned Anthony of Vergis Graphics,
Yeah.
a mutual friend and actually associate of mine through this Alpha Rock Network. But maybe is there some kind of story we can share, or use case, kind of like getting towards the end of today's interview, or I guess I
Well, I
mean
know that they use it internally
yeah,
at
we
their
use it too in
agency.
Alpha Rock as the sellers too. I know
Yeah.
our team.
Yeah, just optimizing their images. I think they have a pretty meticulous approach as well. And we were actually doing like a study together a few months ago, Virtuous Graphics and PickFu, where
Oh,
we were
cool.
just kind of trying to methodically test out different approaches to product photography and just see if we could pull out some best practices. And that's kind of where some of the stuff about like, breaking out layouts or, laying out all the pieces of a product. Tend to do better than say like maybe a stylistic approach. So some people are like, oh, this is I've got a bunch of, let's say, little tchotchkes, and I'm going to lay them out as a cool little flower or something like that. And like, oh yeah, that looks great. But what usually wins is like, oh well, they just want it laid out very like methodically so they can actually see all the stuff, right? Because it's more of a practical thing. Like, sure, like something may look better stylistically, but at the end of the day, like buyers want to know more information. And so if you can lay it out in a much clearer fashion, maybe give some context to the size and all this kind of stuff, that's actually what matters more in the image, as opposed to just, oh, that's cool looking and it's eye catching. But if I can't tell like what I'm getting, what all the components are, what the relative size is, all this kind of stuff, like it's not that great of an image.
Okay, this has been great, and I know it's even late for you there, so I really
Yeah.
appreciate coming on. Of course, what's the best way people can find? Of course, PickFu, PickFu.com, and
Yeah.
what is some other, or is that the best place? I mean, what?
Yeah, go to our website. We're on Twitter as well, PickFu. You can email me, Justin@pickfu.com, if you have any questions. Always happy to connect with sellers and,
Awesome.
teach them about testing.
I guess one thing I just sneak in there. You mentioned how 10 years ago you started this. How much of your users are like Amazon sellers or e-commerce sellers versus other? I'm kind of, if you're willing to share, able to share it. I'm
Yeah,
curious.
so I would say that now it's probably about half of our customers are e-commerce sellers.
Wow. Okay.
Not necessarily Amazon, but yeah, e-commerce in general. I'd say about a quarter are mobile app developers, and the other quarter are authors.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
so a lot of self-publishing authors.
Yeah. Because I didn't bring it up, but of course I don't know about you, but I think of the Tim Ferriss 4 Hour Work Week. He
Yeah,
says
for sure.
that's where I got that idea, right?
Yeah, so that's where he pioneered the running the ads of the different book titles. And
Yeah.
what's awesome is that we always get feedback, and this is particularly the more common in authors, is we'll get the feedback like, oh my god, that poll was so interesting because the title that I wanted to win didn't win. And that was kind of Tim's experience also, is that like the title he thought was going to win like didn't win. Like, he didn't think it was going to be 4 Hour Work Week, but you kind of have to go with what resonates with the audience.
Yeah.
And it's something about book titles, like people are usually more tied to like, oh, I figured out the best book title, right? Like sometimes they figure it out even before they write the book, and so they're really married to it. But
Yeah.
when they finally run a test, and maybe their publisher says like, oh, here's some other titles that we want you to test, um, the data speaks for itself, and that's what they go with.
Great, man. Well, congrats. You and your partner and your team have done a great job. I mean, I hear great things, and we're using it. And thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mike.
Thank you so much for listening. We have so many people want to be a guest. So many people want to be on our content, write for us, and engage with us. We put together a community, okay, a private, paid community of people that really want to get to know me and others in our community, other speakers, other experts. We have masterclass calls. We have private sessions. We got mini meetups, masterminds, all kinds of courses I put over the years, books, everything is in there. It's like all you can eat. GFAVIP.com is the website. I was supposed to forward it to the website, to globefromasia.com, but we built out a whole mini site forum, and we do as much as we can there. If you really enjoy what you're doing here, you want to connect with more, it's not just the forum, okay? It's everything we have for premium calls. Of course, we have our WeChat group and other groups for those private people, and we want to help you out even more. If you want to give back, contribute, and get connected, gfavip.com. Thank you, Justin. That was a pretty cool one, and I always enjoy these podcasts, interviews, and I will be in this retreat soon. So I want to share a little bit about the survey we did. LJ on the team is amazing. She's helping make this transcription and getting this stuff. She helps write up the reviews. We have a full review about PickFu, and it's also where we talk about this results of our own survey. So, we did disclosure. We got a freebie. Justin hooked us up with the survey, and I was thinking, what should I use it for? We're going to make globalformasia.com/reviews/PickFu. We do a lot of different reviews and in-depth analysis of different products and services in the industry. You can check out globalformasia.com/reviews if you want to check out others. But for this one, we also put our own experience doing the survey, and what did we test? LJ and I and Mindy and Cheryl and Alvin and others in our Slack channel were just chatting about it, and I thought, let's test our name, Global from Asia. Do we think we keep the name? I've been talking to some of us in the newsletter and some friends about changing the name, and it's a hard one, changing the name. My wife says don't do it, it's crazy, this is your brand, 6 years. But we put it out in PickFu, and what was the other one? Global from Anywhere. I don't know, what do you think? Does that sound better? I get mixed results. I've been asking around friends and members in our GFA VIP community and others. If you might even see some of our videos, we have the bumper Alvin edited to say Global from Anywhere. Can kind of testing it a little bit in some of our content. So we ran a poll. Let me pull it up right now. globalformasia.com/reviews/PickFu. I'm on the page literally right now. LJ made amazing work here. So we basically just ran a head-to-head type poll in PickFu, and then we did a product. There's also product comparisons and others, but we basically created a poll, and we put the logos. So we took the image of Global from Asia, we put the image Global from Anywhere, and we had 50 people, general audience in the US. Basically, we let it be shared with our public gallery, enable downloading the results in CSV, and then we started waiting for the results. And they came in pretty quick. Actually, I kind of stressed LJ out on my team because I thought it would take longer. I want to have this poll ready for this podcast because I want to talk about it after Justin's interview, just like I'm doing now. In 27 minutes, we got the results from the head-to-head poll. And what do you think? Who won? A or B? A is Global from Asia. B is Global from Anywhere. Drum roll. Option B is 82. What is that percent? Basically, 41 people picked option B, and 9 people picked Global from Asia. So I guess it's 18% for Global from Asia, because it's 50 people, right? 9. So at 100%, it's 18%, and 82% for Global from Anywhere. And it's not just like what Justin says in the interview. It's not just about how many, what A or B. It's also the responses. And I think one mistake we made is the bolding and the sizing was different. One was a little, you can see if you look on the reviews, globalformasia.com/reviews/PickFu, you'll see. But some people picked A just because it was bolder, because it was bigger. So they shouldn't use that as a reason why. Another one was they chose A because it seemed bigger and bolder than B. So those two are almost negligible because I'm talking about the words. I'm not talking about the logo. Maybe we should have just done words. In my opinion, a shorter logo is better as the third vote for Global from Asia. It makes it smaller. So he liked it just because it was smaller. Having the name Asia makes it more specific, is somebody voting for. It gives you the information you need about the company. Another one says, I choose A because I think it's a better ring to it. It also has shorter and it's more catchy in my opinion. It lets people know more about the company. Anywhere is not as specific. Another one likes it because it's compact and easier to read and see. The font is bigger. Global from Asia sounds more appealing and easy to remember compared to the other of Global from Asia. Sorry, I say it over. Global from Asia ensures the customer understands the origin of the brand, which also influences their interactions with the brand. Is simple and easy to recall, and would serve the purpose better. And then the last one out of 9 that voted for it like the larger font. So like 3 people like it because of the font, all right, because it's bigger. 1 likes it because it's shorter. So really only 4 people really picked Asia because they liked Asia. Option B is overwhelming amount of people, 82%, right? So it seems more inclusive and worldwide. Another one says it's far more appealing. The name appears, than only to Asia. Using the word anywhere is much more global in nature rather than Asia. Anywhere makes me think of the entire world. It means you've been global from anywhere, not just in one specific place. Option B seems more global and open to people from anywhere. Why would you limit yourself to one continent? Global from anywhere is all-inclusive and has no limit. Another one says, it just sounds better. I like B because global from anywhere fits better than A. A only mentions one country. Well, not a country, dude. It's a continent. It sounds limited. The name implies more possibilities, not just limited to geographical area. Obviously, choice B is offering global something from anywhere in a globe, whereas choice A is limited to one continent. Anywhere sounds more global to me. It's a broader reach. I like the smaller font here. Another person about the font. It feels and looks better and is easier to read. Not too large and obtrusive. Basically, yeah, I mean, what we really liked was, obviously, that's way more powerful, just all these insights, rather than just A or B, right? Even though it's still, obviously, 82% or 41 out of 50 picked global from anywhere. We do have the domain, okay? I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't have the domain. We have globalfromanywhere.com. It's just a one-pager right now. Man, I'm an internet marketer, and it's just a pain to think of all the 301 redirects and the links and... such a nightmare. And then on the podcast feed. But basically, yeah, I mean, we have all of this there. But what do you think? I mean, honestly, this is general U.S. people. You guys are listeners. We should hear from you. Actually, I will make a quick form, okay? We want to hear from you. If you're still listening to this blah, blah, blah session. Hopefully it's even still recording. But yeah, it is okay. But basically, we want to hear from you, the demographic. So it also says 16 to 24 was about half of the people. 50% were 16 to 24 years old. About 25% were 25 to 34. And then less than like 15% was 35, 44, 45, 54, 54, 60. College degree. A lot of them are not highly educated. Mostly about 50% are high school. The other like 40%, so like 90%. So these are not highly educated people. No offense to them, but basically that's it. So I'd love to hear from you. What URL should we make? Okay, LJ, don't forget to don't let me screw up this URL. globalfromasia.com/poll, POLL. How about that? Hopefully we have that. And let us know what you think of this this podcast, and we'll link to the survey there. All right. Thank you so much for listening. And I don't know, are you gonna unsubscribe if we switch to global from anywhere? People are already saying, Mike, you do so many things already. You're like China, Amazon. You want to do Southeast Asia now, Lazada. Man, I don't know. We're cross-border. We're international. Am I nuts? Am I gonna lose? You guys think I'm already insane? I know I'm insane, but thanks for listening. And talk to you guys next week. I will be in Bohol, probably recording at least this intro. Thank you. Bye-bye.
To get more info about running an international business, please visit our website at www.globalfromasia.com. That's www.globalfromasia.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our iTunes feed. Thanks for tuning in.